Okay, so the fandom, at least from what I've seen in some of the rooms, are talking about this Louis Tomlinson, Zara McDermott romance, which really is because they were having dinner, but I didn't see an engagement ring or anything. So I'm seeing people like say, "Oh, it's a stunt." They're like doing it again. They should know we're onto them, or like here we go again. Which I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just like, what would it gain to stunt now? Because we haven't seen Harry and Louis in like 10 years together, right? And if you want to stunt for mutually beneficial reasons such as marketing partnerships and stuff, I kind of think you would pick somebody that would really kind of have that kind of traction. And I just don't think that this reality star has it. Although I could be wrong. I'm not in the UK. I don't follow the UK reality because we don't get it here in the States. But um, I just don't think everything is a stunt. Really, as a Louis fan, you just kind of want to see Louis happy. And if it's with the Zara chick, then so be it, right? Um, I just I just think she needs to be worthy of Louis because Louis is really precious. So, if anyone who is in his life, I mean, I kind of would, I would like to see Louis have a big family himself. Um, I would say that, yeah, he's the kind of person that I would want to have a Bentley kind of person for him, not a Chevrolet. But I just don't see that this stunt is a thing. I just don't. I don't see the commercial ROI on it. On the other hand, I I do think that the fandom who really doesn't like the stunting, it's important that they you hear them out because even if this isn't a stunt, the thing is they have been saying this for a long time is that the use of stunts, the use of these PR relationships, it's been around for a long time, and primarily as a closeting tactic, which is not right. So I think that there's value in the Larry fans talking about, oh, it's a stunt again, it's a stunt again. Now, also, I want to say this about Larry. I don't want to see, okay, the Larry era that I think was the most beautiful and pure was the fetus era, so 2010 to 2013. The last 2 years of One Direction, the Larry was shifting. Um, and if you look at Harry today, I mean, Harry, it's like, it's like his aura is all muddy, if for lack of a better word. And Louis kind of beaming. He's riding this wave. He's really kind of hit his stride. I just wouldn't want somebody, even if it's Harry, to drag him down because Louis fought to be where he is. He deserves everything he has, and I don't think it would be actually fair to us as fans to have that. The beauty of Larry when it was in its bloom, when it was in its innocence, when it was in its uh, caution to the wind and just went with the flow and they weren't being restrained. That is a beautiful era, and it's a good thing there's lots of footage. But I wouldn't want what that symbolizes and what that represents and the aesthetic of all those Larry fan videos and those moments we've seen. I wouldn't want it ruined by the current incarnation of Harry Styles. So the current Louis is awesome, right? Like Louis goes from strength to strength kind of thing, right? His eyes, you can say there's so much behind the eyes, right? And I just, I honestly think Harry being seen with Louis now would almost be depressing. It's not the Larry that we remember. It's not the Harry that still had like a soul that seemed to glow. It's like Harry that where's your soul? Where's your aura, Harry? Um, and I think that would actually be a big bummer for the fandom if they actually saw their fantasy shattered because it was the fact that it actually wasn't a fantasy and it was so lovely to see in their natural state. I don't think we'll ever get that back unless Harry somehow restores himself and um, you know, redeems himself because I don't know why he looks so miserable. I don't think it's the training for the Tokyo Marathon. I just, yeah, you'd be a little sort of tired because that's all that training, but he just seems like a bummed out guy. Somebody posted a photo of him when he was 16 with the curls looking so cute. And then they put a picture of him with the face stubble and like wearing this baggy shirt and like sunglasses, um, you know, on his like collar. and his expression, he looked creepy. Like he just looked like this, like his eyes were sunken. It's probably bad lighting, but that's how far he's changed. And then you put like 18-year-old Louis by current Louis, and it's almost like he's he's really blossomed, right? And it's just it's like they're on two different parallel tracks. Like they're no longer that simpatico. Unless I'm wrong, and unless maybe the only reason Harry is like this is because he's not with his Louis in public. So hey, if I'm wrong, I'll be happy if they were to hang out and all of a sudden the old Harry's back. Um, because Harry had a big grin, but in addition to the big grin, there was this. His eyes smiled, and when the eyes don't smile anymore, it's like eerie, because it feels like you're not watching the real him. It's like you watch Kiwi, the video for Kiwi, and he's so sweet, and then sometime right before the pandemic, something happened. I mean, maybe the pandemic made him depressed. I don't know, but the other thing too is um, when I did the commentary of Niall for St. Patty's Day, somebody had commented in the section how Niall said he like seeks Louis' advice, and there's them as an artist and how they've traveled the journey of their solo careers. There's a certain integrity in Louis and Niall, and I do remember Niall saying that he does really trust Louis um, for advice on like artistic endeavors, and I think that's so interesting that Niall says he trusts Louis. I mean, there's a lot of trust that Louis earned, but why don't you trust Harry? He's the one with the Grammy, right? Um, so it's just, I don't know. I mean, sometimes, love isn't enough. And maybe when Harry said, Love of My Life is the scariest song to record, maybe it wasn't just for him. Maybe it was also scary because this sentiment of love of my life, of like, I'm happy, better to have loved and lost and never loved at all, but you were the love of my life. But, sometimes you don't end up together. Sure, that was what you were saying, Harry, but maybe it was also what Louis saying, and Louis has more proof of it that he's really moved on, because Harry's discography is one big agony playlist. So it's either agony because I can't be in public with you, or it's agony because I've lost you for everything, and I lost you because of my own stupidity. But so I think we need to celebrate Larry, but celebrate the Larry at its its ultimate form, the younger versions of them, because one of them is still this, charismatic, sassy ball of light, which is Louis, and the other one is just seems so depressed. It's like, Jesus, what's happened to you? You have so much, you have everything, and yet you act like you have nothing, or none of that matters. That's really, really sad. Um, Speaking of which, I don't know. Okay, so this is probably more well known to the European people. Um, but there is a band called Tokyo Hotel, and I just discovered them. And I, honest to God, I look at Bill Call It, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like a German version of Harry Styles, except truly a showman and truly a singer. And him and his twin brother kind of have that same kind of vibe, but they're truly twins, so it makes sense. Um, but I was watching like the really early footage of Tokyo Hotel, and I was like, oh my God, it's a German version of Harry Styles, except actually talented with the songwriting and truly like original. And and he's German, which is kind of cool. But they were actually 5 years before One Direction, and it's interesting to see that that band, Tokyo Hotel, is actually still together. Like they're a bit more like the Stones. But my whole point in all this is, I could be completely wrong about Harry. I could be completely unfair to him, because Bill Collins, oh my God, so unbelievably beautiful when he was young. Like the kind of this at the same his same era, from, because I think he was about the same age as Harry when he was discovered, and then so him from like 16 to say 23, 24. It's just like, good Lord, you're fucking beautiful. um, and he did talk about hiding his sexuality for a while, and now he's out. And but his twin brother, they're identicals. His twin brother is straight, is married to Heidi Klum, and it's like the twin brothers, the older one. So it's Tom. Tom Collins is the older twin, and I look at I look at that band, and it's like if you look at Tom when he was young and him now, like he's like older, he's like 35, but he still kind of has that masculine sort of like charisma. It's like he's aged better, and I don't know if it's because maybe he didn't wear as much makeup or something. But anyway, I look at Bill Collins and I'm like, you were so fucking beautiful. And I look at him now and it's just like, okay, somebody in the comments said that pretty boys don't age well, which is really interesting because I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because if I look at like all the pretty boys from the previous eras, like they kind of yeah, they don't age as well as somebody that's got more bone structure. But then you look at Louis, and Louis is like a pretty boy, or was a pretty boy, but now he's like this exquisite man, and it's like so not all pretty boys age badly. I think the thing is, if you stay a boy, it begins to look old. It's kind of like tadpoles that never become frogs. They just become these big tadpoles. It looks kind of weird. Versus the boy who becomes a man, and it integrates, and it's eventually everyone's gonna have laugh lines, right? Like who you wouldn't actually want to look 18 all the time because you wouldn't be taken seriously, and you couldn't rent a car, and there's a lot of things you won't be able to do. But I think having the energy of someone 18, having the physiological health of it, that's a good thing. If you were healthy at 18, but I'm bringing up Bill because it's like him and Harry Styles are like parallels. Like so, Bill's a little older. He's like 4 years older, and it's like there's a parallel with how the fans were describing Bill when there was a retrospect of all the different Bill eras, like Bill Collins, and I'm like, people in the comments on those fan videos on YouTube were saying how sad it is to look at Bill now because he's no longer beautiful. And it's like, oh my God. So the Germans are saying that about their Harry Styles, and I'm saying that about our Harry Styles. um, but yeah, and people get old, but then you see his twin, and his twin looks awesome. And it's like the counterpart to Louis. Like, look at Louis. Louis's got some laugh lines, and if he has gray hair, you know what? Some families they go gray in their 20s, so that's not a sign of age to me. Okay, but it's like there is something about pretty boys because they don't they kind of like try to stay pretty, and they kind of just start looking like a caricature of themselves. But I do think Bill Collins is happier because unlike Harry, Bill still has Tom, his twin brother. Because yeah, if it's a twin, like twins tend to be really tied to each other. Although Louis and Harry used to twin mirror all the time. But so yeah, bottom line, I don't think that the Zara is a stunt. It isn't interesting in terms of like you can see the build up of the media. You can kind of see all of a sudden it went from Louis' clothing, Louis' music in India, Louis gonna play soccer for this fundraiser in June, and then all of a sudden Louis and this girl. So it feels a bit orchestrated in terms of like a publicity blitz. For what reason, I don't know. I'm assuming someone is going to be releasing some music or something, and maybe Zara has a secret talent of singing. But all I can say is, if we want Louis happy, then it doesn't matter who it is with. It just has to be someone who brings value to his life and is a good person. I'm not really attached to it being Harry Styles, and in fact, in the last couple of days, I don't actually want it to be the Harry incarnation we see now because that Harry. Oh God, that Harry needs an intervention or something. I don't know, but unless Louis with the Haza we know, the beautiful cherubic angel Haza, I don't want to see them together. Actually, whether Harry Styles will ever reclaim that beauty, and I'm not even talking physically, I'm talking the glow. Um, if he reclaims it, yeah, maybe, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the whole reason he's like this is I read him wrong. Maybe the only reason Harry Styles looks like he's a sullen little girl half the time, and he really does look so sullen, is because he's not with Lou, and I think Lou was really an anchor for him. I mean, I think Lou's an anchor for a lot of people in his life. Like, I mean, I'm kind of jealous of Lottie because she has him as her older brother. I mean, I would so love an older brother like Louis. Not because I'd ask him for money or anything, because I probably would, but not that much. But honestly, like, when you think of the big brother, like that whole trope, the big brother, like, Louis would be such a cool big brother. I mean, if everything we see in the public interactions with his sisters is who they are, it's like, damn it, you won the lottery. You have that as your big brother. It's like the most genuine Louis was in that One Direction documentary that was filmed like in 2012 or 2013, where you saw Louis going to the school to pick up his twin sisters, and he's like at the gate, and he's like, "I'm over here, I'm over here," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like if I was like, anxious, if I was like wondering who's going to pick me up today, if I was like wondering if my big brother was going to be able to spend time with me because he's only home for a little bit because he's touring all the time, if I was one of those twin sisters, I would be so happy because he still came and picked me up from school, and like he could have sent a chauffeur, he had the money, but like that that I can see. If you're somebody that maybe is fragile, or just that your sense of self is too sensitive to the opinions of others, if you're easily thrown off by the opinions of others, I could totally see having a Louis Tomlinson in your life. Like that's gold. And if you were touring and going from country to country, because they said that they would cover like 5 countries in 3 days or something when they were like on the road. It's like, yeah, I mean, I could totally see that if you felt like your foundation was rocked because suddenly you were plucked out of obscurity into superstardom and like couldn't do anything normal, you would need somebody to be your anchor if you're not able to be that yourself. And like I could totally see Louis kind of being where you could like just rest easy, right? But then who gives Louis that feeling? Like that's why I'm like, I would like Louis to be happy. And I'd like somebody who gives him that feeling that he probably gives a lot of people. So, and if Harry Styles is no longer up to the task, then so be it. You know what? We had Larry. We have so much memorabilia and footage of Larry. We're not short of anything Larry to remember because, again, better to have loved and lost than never loved at all. Like that's actually more sad. Sometimes the only way to know a real love is to have had one and lost one because, kind of like that song, if we ever love again, I would love you right. Well, but sometimes you won't love again, but you'll love the next person, right? And that's what matters. Because maybe not all soulmates are meant to be in a matrimonial union. Think about it that way, right? Anyways, so only time will tell if it's a stunt or not. We don't know. It doesn't really matter. As long as Lou's happy, I want to see new music because I want to have some more tunes that can be converted to ringtones so I can assign them to some of my contacts and I can have different like notification uh, sounds that are all Louis Tomlinson and Niall Horan and Zayn Malik and Liam Payne. Because as you can tell, I really don't have much use for Harry right now. I like I like a Harry that no longer exists, and I have accepted that. However, the Louis that we adore has only gotten better. So you can't take everyone with you. And Harry Styles has sung about that. But maybe he's sort of sad in a way and bittersweet when he sings those kind of messages because it's not just him that had to leave someone behind. Maybe he was the one also left behind, and it was more Louis was more the prize. And sometimes, as popular as you are, I don't care how many Grammys you have, some things just are true no matter how much the marketing is to convince you the other one is more valuable. I kind of think of Louis as a little diamond or as a precious diamond, right? I see Harry as a cubic zirconium. And that's probably why I don't really care if I ever see Larry ever together. I'm on the fence. I really only want to see them together if Harry Styles brings back his glow. It would mean finding your soul, and I think he's lost and can't find it.